Happy Women Wednesdays, everyone. Thank you for joining us virtually today. So happy to be here. My name is Chrissy Souders. I'm one of your co-hosts. I know it says Women Wednesdays on there, so I just want to make sure I introduce myself if this is the first time you're joining us for Women Wednesdays. And also, I want to introduce Tamara Smith, who is also a co-host here with Women Wednesdays. Hey, Tamara.
Hey, Chrissy. Hey, everyone. We're so glad that we have the flexibility. Sometimes we're in person, sometimes we can be virtual, but we can always be here for you on Wednesdays with another dynamic speaker. My name is Tamara Smith. You see Tam on the screen. You can call me Tam. And I'm also during the day the regional director of partnerships for an awesome organization called One More Child. Our mission is to provide services for children and families in need. So if you want to find out how you can join us in providing millions of meals and impacting thousands of lives in a variety of ways, if you think of it, we can do it. Just let me know by either visiting onemorechild.org or find me right here on Facebook. Send me a message and I will get you connected. Thank you to everyone who has given or had a diaper drive or supported a foster family through learning about it here on Women Wednesdays. But we are here today to talk with a dynamic speaker, and I'm sure Chrissy has a few things for us because, as we know, if Barbara was here, she would have a few reminders for us before we get started.
That's right. I want to make sure all of you joining us today, please make sure you share this post, tag a friend, and also go ahead and include yourself in the dialogue today. Ask us questions. Make sure you say hello and where you're joining us from today in the comments here, and we'll be able to bring them up on screen, just like we have here. Good morning. It doesn't feel, it feels like morning, doesn't it? Especially in the virtual world. But thank you so much for joining us. And I am so excited to have our speaker here today. So I'm going to let Tamara introduce her and let's get started with our speaking engagement today.
Well, before Dr. Arnekua talks to us today, I want to tell you a little bit about her because she is one accomplished lady. Dr. Aniqua Jackson is not only an award-winning music educator, but she's also an author and expert at finding your voice through creative expression, especially for women and young girls. You may have heard about her Hartsfield Elementary students' performance at Carnegie Hall in New York City, where she galvanized the Tallahassee community to raise funds for this inspiring trip. And Dr. Jackson joins us today to share her experiences, her passion for teaching, and for helping women go beyond their careers by developing creative content that can lead to other sources of income. But along that journey, she became an author, and with that expertise in finding our creative voices, she's also learned uh, to put that into her authorship. She has children's literature, and she is going to be talking about one of her books today. So we're excited to go ahead and introduce Dr. Arnekua Jackson. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi. Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
I have to unmute myself and remember.
Okay.
You gotta love that about the virtual world.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Jackson, so happy to have you here today, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join in on the conversation. So we'll start with this. I want to learn more about you and your journey in becoming an author. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you became an author.
Awesome. Well, many of you know I have been a music educator for over almost 13 years now, and teaching particularly elementary. I taught that in Tallahassee. Shout out to the Hawks, Hartsfield Hawks there. I taught at Hartsfield Elementary for about 10 years, and I literally probably have seen every culture, every creed that has come through that school. And one of the things that I looked at was my library in my classroom. And I noticed that a lot of the children's literature was only based on Caucasian characters. And with the literature that was in my classroom, it did not reflect the population of my school, which was Hartsfield Elementary at the time. Hartsfield Elementary is a Title I school, and it was a predominantly minority school. So I wanted to change that. And I went and started doing research. I started my PhD degree at FSU, and I started working on a research project where I studied maybe over 300 children's picture books. And I found trends within the same thing. Most of the characters were not minority characters. They weren't placed, when the minority characters were in the book, they were secondary characters, and they were not always put in a positive role. So I wanted to change that, and I wanted to also challenge that mindset that has been passed down for years. So I got inspired. Not only did I first started doing um, sessions with teachers, training them about the topic and educating people about the importance of looking at the entire book, especially for children, that, stories are the first thing that a child looks at. You remember that I Can, You Can Too book? That was one of the first books that we read, and we have to make sure that the characters are reflected with all cultures. We want our children to make sure that they connect with someone or something that looks like them or relates to them. So I began that journey, and it just took off. A lot of teachers, I was not aware there were so many teachers that just didn't know how to select literature for their students. And so traveling through that journey, then there were people like, when are you going to write your book? And I was like, who, me? Oh, no, I'm just telling you about the research. And then I got inspired when everything stopped during the pandemic. And I was actually writing my dissertation, and thought at the time it was a poem that came to me, and the words just came to me. I belong in music. It just kept resonating with me. I belong in music. And so many times we feel like we don't fit in. And so many times, especially as a woman of color and students that are minority, they don't always fit in. So I wanted to make sure everyone feels included. So the lyrics came first, and then I got with this wonderful illustrator. Shout out to CJ Jones. Um, and we started working, and the process took about 9 months, and we created I Belong in Music, and now it's a brand.
Wow, that is so inspiring. And just to know that you saw the need for it and decided to do something about it instead of just talk about it is really cool. And so, what has been some of the lessons you've learned during that journey and may have applied within your book?
One of the main, I guess, inspirations that I found through this journey is that anything we put our minds to doing and things that we see that need to kind of be guided in the right direction or need some assistance, we have the tools inside of us. A lot of the experiences that we have are based off of, we always may not always like where we are, but we're there for a reason. Oh, there's a bell, guys. We're there
That's
for a reason.
actually a pleasant bell, I will say.
Yes.
Remember when they just like rang incessantly? That was terrible. That was pleasant.
I almost started harmonizing with it. But a lot of our experiences in life, we always say, why are we here in this moment? And I want to go do this and I want to go do that. Sometimes we just need to pause and think about why we're there. And we're there to make a change. We're there to be impactful. We're there to make a difference. And when I started looking at my life in terms of making a difference everywhere I go. I'm going to leave my mark. Things just started opening up for me. Doors just began to open, and I started unlocking gifts that I didn't even know that was inside of me. So, in terms, I was able to pull that out of my students because first we got to know who we are as individuals to be able to help someone else. So, I have met so many young women who are inspiring to be authors or who, not even if it's music related, just knowing that to tell them that they belong in their profession. Females, it's really hard, especially in a man's world. I know in music is predominantly ran by men. And so being sometimes the only female and then on top of that, a woman of color, it is hard to fit in and belong. So we have to bring other characteristics about ourselves to stand out.
Something that you said, there was a couple of things. I was trying to jot down notes really quick because there were some great things we could explore in there. But one of the things you said was kind of reframing a question we'll ask ourselves in some of life's moments. I know I've asked myself over, at different periods of my life, how did I get here? Like, why am I here? But the way you use the same question and reframe the thought behind it. No, why am I here? Tell me how you got to that place where you were able to take a common question we ask ourselves in the middle of challenges and reframe it in a positive light.
I would have to give credit to the pandemic. You know, we look at the pandemic as being a curse in many different areas. A lot of people lost their lives, but a lot of people for the first time got to pause and heal and reflect. And that in that piece that I had, I was able to really, really, really see what's my purpose in life. Where am I going? What's the direction I want to do? Those dreams that we had when we were little girls, what are those dreams? And I came back to, I always was a writer. My mom, she gave me a diary or a notebook, and I always wrote. And those are the things I didn't have time for because Hartsfield Elementary chorus and everything else that I was doing, I was always so busy focusing on the performance aspect. But there was, like I said, there was more in me. And having that pause, I was able to develop those skills and revisit them.
So I want to know, I mean, obviously as a creative writer, but how did you find your voice in music?
Whew, mentorship. That's the one of the main things. Someone who looked like me. And that's the whole idea about my book is finding someone. The little girl, she goes throughout her day, but her music teacher is the same color as her. She's female. Um, and even though everyone in her class is different in culture, she still felt included. I have to say, I have had some of the most dynamic women pour into me. As even in my family, I've had a lot of strong women, a lot of first ladies in the church that spoke into my life. And then I also had my mother, who was a dynamic person, grandmother, who I've just seen overcome so many challenges and still become successful. And then I also had my teachers and professors. One professor in particular was Dr. Kimberly Van Welden at FSU College of Music. Shout out to her. She was actually my major professor, and she was one of the people that inspired me to start writing my own book because she approached me about doing the research for the children's picture books, and I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to do music. And she would laugh, and she always makes jokes even to this day about the journey that I was saying no, 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 no. And it I found my inner voice, and my inner voice not only as an adult but as it's in the child. I went back to that series when I used to write and create and just be free. There was no judgment. Now we're all judgy because we have our degrees and we go to work, and every day we're being judged. But I was just a kid in that moment. And she had a lot to do with that, inspiring me in that moment.
Well, it's like you said, there is a freedom that you have to allow yourselves because we basically just know too much. You
Yeah.
know, you think about when you're younger, you're like, I know that I need to uh, brush my teeth,
Yeah.
get dressed, go to school, do my work, come back home, and everything else that comes with the responsibilities added, the responsibility for the knowledge added. Sometimes it can just kind of quench that inner voice. So, do you ever find yourself having to kind of fight for that inner creative voice that you've become so good at utilizing and allowing to be free in this world? Do you have challenges with that?
Absolutely. I always say our greatest failure is looking at ourselves and saying that we can't do something. Fear is the number one um, idea that stops a lot of us from reaching our purpose and reaching our goals. And I've had so many fears. Oh my gosh. I remember the night before I released my book, and I went in and I sat with my mom and I was telling her, I said, I don't think no one's going to buy my book. It's a children's book. I don't think, everyone always sees me as music. I was just having so many moments of doubt because at that moment, I was like, I know I created something, but will the world accept it? Will they see it the way that I do? So I just continued. She encouraged me, of course, that night. She's one of my, you have to have a good circle around you, always encouraging you when you have those moments. But I just pushed through, and the next day it was on Target and it sold out. And I just couldn't believe the response that I received from just pushing through those barriers, pushing through those fearful thoughts, pushing through negativity. And I kind of worked quietly until the product was done. That's something that I do because I'm just afraid that if I get a negative voice that it might throw me off track. So I like to get everything done. Then I invite criticism because I think that's important. Or I wouldn't even say criticism. I would say other perspectives to how to look at the project to improve that. So that's exactly what I did.
And I just want to mention what a great opportunity for Target to, showcase your work. I belong in music. Tell us a little bit about how those opportunities have come your way. Um, as I know, we've mentioned the Carnegie Hall. Let's take you back to Carnegie Hall
Okay.
for a minute. Okay, so tell us about that opportunity, how that came about, and how that's helped in your journey as an author.
Absolutely. So back when I was working at Hartsfield Elementary, I worked at Hartsfield Elementary for 10 years. I was a music teacher there. And when I tell you that is the most supportive, beautiful community that I have ever worked with. It's just a hidden gem there. And when I went over there, and I remember when I first started, there were so many people who my predecessor was, she was there before me, and they were saying, you're not going to be able to start a chorus program. You're not going to be able because you don't have the support you need. You don't have the resources. The parents are not going to show up. And I remember I was in my early 20s at that point, and I was a firecracker. So when you tell me I'm not going to do something, mm-mm-mm. You just gave me the engine I needed to make sure I accomplished my goal. And literally, I started the choir program. Again, that fear came in. It was like the first rehearsal. I don't know how or who's going to show up, but I'm still going forward with it. The first rehearsal, I had 30 kids show up. and most of them were girls. So I knew right then that was my niche. And it was, the girls resonated with me. I looked like them. I was personable. I was relatable. So I ran with it. And that's how I built my program. And as the years, I think we serviced maybe over 700 students throughout the program. And the last 2 years, we actually got two invites to Carnegie Hall. You remember the storm that came and tore up Tallahassee? It was a bad hurricane. So that first year, we got invited to go, but we couldn't because of all the communities were hurting at that time financially. So I went in a slump, and I was like, oh, we missed our time, we missed our slot. So Carnegie happened to call me again and say, try again, re-audition. I was like, no, they're gonna say no. I don't know. But this inner voice in me said, go for it. So I went forward and I auditioned again, and we got accepted. And we were the youngest choir to get accepted to Carnegie Hall. And we were also featured on the stage. So they had only 4 choirs they selected. We all did a combined number, but also my students were featured. But it was an incredible experience. And if I wouldn't have pushed through my fears and those thoughts, those negative thoughts back when I first started the program, we would not have experienced that. And it was life changing, not only for myself, but for my students.
Wow, that is, I mean, yes, we need to give them a round of applause. I also want to shout out Dr. Rhonda Blackwell Flanagan,
Yes, Dr.
the
Flanagan.
principal at Hartsfield.
Yes.
I consider her a adopted family member, mentor, friend, and she is. I would say she's also brilliant in bringing together community uh,
Yes.
in that way.
She
And
was a huge cheerleader during that process, and she was right along with us. And she also traveled with us to Carnegie. So definitely have to thank her personally and openly for her allowing us to take on that journey together.
absolutely, absolutely. And it's just important to have that type of leadership that is
Hmm.
supportive. But I I love how you referred back to your that inner voice when you were talking
Hmm.
about, just kind of something that is big, kind of in, those wildest dreams we talk about. The opportunities there, now you have it, and now fear and doubt starts to creep in.
Yep,
So thank you for referring back to how you work through that process. Um,
absolutely.
Now, I know that getting to Carnegie Hall presented a need for resources.
Oh, yeah.
And you've had other opportunities as well that have come along. So I guess two parts. Talk to us about how you work through those limited resources, because sometimes we're going after these things and we're like, well, how am I going to get there, and how and that may stop us. Like,
Yes.
yeah, what am I going to do? Let me just stop. This is not going to work. But how did you how did you work through that and keep going and inspire students along the way?
Absolutely. So there's no one way I can put this. There is no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 step plan. I can tell you this. The main thing that I learned during the entire process was to just keep going. Write the vision and make it plain. I literally presented a proposal that I wasn't sure was going to work, but I had a plan. So once you have a plan, you have to get the right people around you. You have to get the engine running. And what I did, I presented the plan to my parents first because we had to raise $65,000 in 4 months. And they laughed at me. Everybody laughed at me. And so I gave them the plan in paper so we can all see it together. And they were like, at the time I was Miss Jackson. Miss Jackson, we're usually behind you, but I don't foresee this happening. And I literally told them I had to be that bold voice to tell them we can do this. We have worked hard. And at the time, Hartsfield Chorus, this was its 10th year. So I felt like we had enough connections and we had enough interest in our group to at least get several people behind us and who believed in what we were doing over there at Hartsfield. So we had the meeting and they were like, we're not sure, but we're going to go for it. We're going to try. That's all I needed. Just say you're going to try with me. Just work with me and push through. So the first 3 weeks, nothing came in. Imagine telling your parents and you're standing in front of them, like, we're going to do this, 65. And they're counting down. We even made a countdown in the classroom. And we're looking at the clock like we're running out of time, right? So what happened was the Southside Development, shout out Miss Jacqueline Perkins. She was a huge instrumental cheerleader and voice during this journey. They rallied together and we had commissioners there, the chief of police, the mayor, school board members all came together and they put on this rally, and that started the movement. And so we raised about $5,000. I was like, this is great. This is progress. So that gave us some hope. But I was like, we're so far away from our goal. I know. So after that, another week went by. We're thinking donations were going to start flowing in. Nothing came in. So CD from Tallahassee Democrat contacted me and she said, can we run a story on what you're trying to do? So everything started falling into place. She put us on the front cover announcing that we had a school's Hartsfield Elementary, Title I school on the South Side trying to go to Carnegie Hall. When I tell you that first week, we raised $20,000. And so now we're at 25,000. Now we see hope. So once that engine started running, then a lot of other people started jumping on and wanting to help. Chrissy, I know everyone knows Chrissy, and who's in town. She was a very instrumental in helping. The school board, the Mayor Daley, he was so excited about saying that a group from Tallahassee is going to Carnegie Hall, and we were an elementary school. So there were a lot of people, and I don't want to call everyone by name, but those were the main key players in our journey. And I'm thinking all this long time, fear starts setting in. I need a huge star. I need someone from television to write me a check. And it was sitting right there in the heart of Tallahassee. The money came from just regular citizens, regular people, and who gave their heart. Those $100, those $25, those $10, they all started adding up. And we reached our goal and we went beyond our goal. No one came from the sky, or no one of global status came. It was a community came together, rallied behind these students who believed in their talents and goals, and we reached our goal. So that encouraged me so much, and it changed my life. And I never look at any obstacles that come. I may be fearful, but I'm going forward. Anytime I get scared, I'm jumping. I'm going forward. That's when I know I'm supposed to be doing it.
Woo. Right?
I was thinking the same thing. Wow. I love it.
It's so good to hear how our community was able to rally together in an effort to make this happen, or help make it happen. In the very least, I saw Pamela Ridley. She's like, I remember that. I went to the event, and Lauren as well too. So let's talk about where we're at now with your book. And I'm going to share it again so everyone can go Amazon, correct? It's available on Amazon. I belong.
Amazon, Walmart, Barnes and Noble, Target. They took it down after it sold out. I think they're doing distribution.
We're gonna
Something's
make them put
going
it
on.
back up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Books a Million, any of the major bookstores you can, and it's only online. It's only available online. I want to make that very clear. Some people go to the store looking for it, and it's just online.
um, I want to talk about the importance of selecting multicultural children's
Mhm,
literature and how
mhm.
important that is in our society, especially in this day and age. Let's get into that. Why is it important for us to uh, read books and immerse ourselves in literature, music, anything regarding the arts that is multicultural and inclusive?
Absolutely. This is a very passionate subject to me because, like I said, from my experience, teaching experience and having a population that was predominantly minority, I'm always looking for resources to connect with my students. It's very hard to have a passage about a camel and students have never been around a camel. So my objective is to make sure that we present materials that are relatable, that students can see themselves in the pages. And that's so important because it inspires them to look at themselves in a positive way. If we present these materials to our students or our kids, even adults, we're so visual. We have social media, we have um, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're always judging ourselves by the way we look, how do we see ourselves, our perception, beliefs based off of someone else. And why the same perspective of that, I took that and made sure that we also implement that in what I do and inspiring other women to make sure they're reading positive literature, inspiring students to make sure that they see literature again that's relatable, that can connect with them, someone that understands their experiences. Because we call those cultural barriers. There are so many times we have writers that write outside of the culture, but if you didn't study that culture, you may offend someone. So it's very important to make sure you do the research and do the study and look through the book before you purchase it and giving it to your children or even for yourself. Be careful what you download on into your body and your mindset because that's where that fear and that failure, those thoughts come in because you don't see anyone that looks like you. And it's a huge thought process with even with females. The guy in the books are always the strongest. The girl is just the playmate. So we have to make sure we are looking at that. Multicultural is just not about our race. It's about gender. It's about creed. It's about our different belief systems. And that's one of the things I love about music is that it brings all different types of people together. And Carnegie Hall proved that. No, even when there were different religious beliefs, they came together because they believed in the same goals. And that's where my projects I plan on continuing to create that will make a difference for all.
I got
And
to hear from you tomorrow as a parent.
well, I'm soaking this in and enjoying it so much and about to go and buy this book as soon as we're finished. For my son, who is starting to really love music as well,
Mm.
because of his music teacher
Oh.
as well. But when you were talking, I was thinking to myself, wow, the accuracy of representation is important to those who need to be represented,
Hmm.
but it's also important to those that are connected to those people
Absolutely.
because I remember one of the things, being from Miami and moving up to Tallahassee, there was an impression of people from Miami, and
Yep.
I kept somehow dispelling it. They'll go, "Wow,
South
you don't
Florida.
act like you're from Miami. You don't sound like you're from Miami." And I kept wondering, what does that mean? Because I'm from there, and
Right. Hmm.
I am, Miami, and uh, it's because the of what was kind of shared or created by somebody who did not have an understanding
Mm-hmm.
of the different types of people that can be from a place. So, you know, I guess the question in here is, you have dedicated a lot of time to making sure that your book is not only great for representation, but it seems like it's great for everyone to kind of, what are they going to get out of your book when they read I Belong in Music? What do you think they'll take away, or what are you hoping they'll take away?
I hope that anyone, if you take out the word music, I want you to replace it with where you want to go. I belong in blank. That's where I want everyone to do when they read that book, regardless if you're in music. My profession is music, whatever your profession is, knowing that you belong wherever you're destined to be. And there are so many times I've had so many students, little girls in particular, that come up. You're the author of the book. I look just like her. I look just like her. And when I tell you it, I'm in tears because exactly what I set out to do, I see it in the way that they look at literature. You have little girls who didn't pick up a book now reading and wanting to read other stories. But we have to continue creating content that they would like to read and making sure, again, it's in a positive way. So as I'm going along with this journey, I want everyone to just take away the music part. Just put I belong and continue affirming yourself and keep telling yourself every day, I belong. I'm where I'm supposed to be at. This journey isn't easy, but I'm still here. I can achieve everything. Let me rally around a huge part of the book is about mentorship. Let me get around people that speak life into me, that are positive. So when I have those down days, they reaffirm me that I still belong. So that's my whole goal in that journey.
You had mentioned projects you're working
Mhm.
on.
Yes, I heard brand. I heard it's a brand, and I went, "Ooh, what does that
Always.
mean?"
It's coming. It's always coming.
So let's talk about some of the blessings that you
Mhm.
are facing, and not facing, but are able to participate in these projects and create these projects and be creative, and opportunities that avail themselves to you and what you're working on.
Absolutely. So a lot of them attributes it's twofold. A lot of it came from Carnegie Hall, with all the things that we did here in Tallahassee. It even got recognition internationally, um, based off of all the work that we did and all the articles that were written and all of the publicity that we received. So my name had already been traveling, from that project. And then now, as an established author, those doors have opened up speaking engagements, things that I've never thought I was doing because I was kind of shy. When it came down to talking to people one on one, I wasn't shy, but in large groups, that just wasn't my thing. However, I found my inner voice.
That's
So,
right. I was going to say that that's a common thing that we have heard that from several speakers right here on Women Wednesdays. Speaking in front of people wasn't my thing,
it
and
wasn't. My mom, I don't know if she's on here, but she would tell you, she said I didn't talk until I was 6. She just
wow,
said I didn't talk. And one day I came home talking her ear off. She said I was silent. And she didn't, I was like, did you think something was wrong with me? But she told me I didn't talk, and I just thought, and now I talk. I guess I probably talk a lot more than I should sometimes, but it has all paid off. But I have done a lot of speaking engagement. One of the biggest blessings, I do a lot of book reading sessions virtually for elementary students, for preschools. I just did one in Maryland. I'm in Palm Beach. The virtual world has created a lot of virtual opportunities for me, whether if I can travel there or not, I'm still able to reach different people around the United States. So it has been incredible. I've done book reading sessions. Now, the bonus part we haven't discussed in the book is there is a song in the back of the book, and it's now available also on Amazon and iTunes, Apple Music. I just released it March 31st, which is my birthday. So the song, the back of the book has sheet music, it has guitar chords, and now you have the instrumental and a sample of a person singing it named Samantha Miner. So we're expanding that I Belong in Music brand.
Possibilities are endless.
No.
That is incredible. I do like just seeing the front cover of the book. I could just imagine this cute little one and her friends on so many different things, in so many different ways. I have a baby girl, my first girl. I have boys,
Oh.
and I'm just excited about the day that her hair
Mhm.
is in a puff on top of her head, like this little girl. So we can
Take a
have
picture and send it to me.
But is there anything that we can look forward to seeing? We're definitely going to go and get your book. We know that you are actually kicking off a book tour as
Yes.
well.
Yes, it actually starts on Friday. I'll be at my old stomping ground. So excited. Going back to Hartsfield Elementary. I'll be there. I'll be doing 2 book reading sessions there. And then Saturday, I will be a guest author at Dr. B.L. Perry's library, the East Branch Library there at, I believe, 11 o'clock. And I'll be doing a book signing there as well. And then at 2 o'clock, I'll be at the Children's Art Festival at 2 o'clock, and I'll be reading my book and also selling my books at that location.
Is it the physical books?
Yes, I'll have the physical books.
Yes. So you can even purchase your books at these events
Yes,
in person,
yes, in person.
which will be great until they're gone, I'm
Uh,
sure.
until they're gone.
Until they're gone, and then you
Yeah,
have to go online.
yeah.
Yeah, you have a busy weekend because the Chain of Parks Arts Festival in combination with the Children Arts Festival, there's going to be a lot of kids there.
Oh, yes. I'm so excited. So bring your loved ones, bring your little ones, or just bring your face. I would
Yeah.
love to meet you.
Yeah, I was going to say this sounds like the type of book that there's a few children's books that impact me um, so much that I have a copy for myself,
Hmm.
and I'll keep it in my office and have it displayed. They become conversation pieces as well. Or if they're, because I work with children and families, if there's children waiting on their parents, they can come and hang out in my office, which is fun for me. but but uh, I know I'm also a former elementary school teacher, so this hits home for
Yay.
me. And yeah, and there's you've talked about a lot of lessons and experiences that you've learned through this process, and this is a journey that's continuing. This isn't
Hmm.
the end of anything. This is very much sounds like a new beginning
Every
for
day,
you. Um,
every day.
is there a takeaway that you want everyone listening to you today to take away to apply to themselves, their inner voices, the challenges and the dreams that they're facing? What's a takeaway for them?
Um, I think the biggest takeaway would be to pause, reflect, and go back to those dreams from a child. What did you say you were going to do? What did you say before life took over, before you became a mom, before your career took off? What were those dreams? And go back, revisit them, and revamp them and implement them. It's not too late. I really there are so many things that has occurred in my life. I thought it was just too late. or I missed my opportunity, but timing all lined up. I always fell where I needed to fall at the right time. And if we keep pushing through, we keep thinking outside of the box, we already have the tools, we have the gifts, we have the creative thoughts, we have um, the ideas. But now it's time. Don't be afraid to get a team of people around you who's going to say yes and no to your projects. As a lot of times we don't want to hear the no's or change this and do that, but those are your consumers, those are your customers. You have to
Wait,
have
let's
a
keep the people around that say yes and no.
yes, you don't
That is
always
good.
want to have those people in your corner who are going to say, oh, this is great, this is a good job, but you didn't tell me why, or you didn't tell me how, or you didn't tell me how I can improve. I don't ever want to be the smartest person in the room. I always invite myself to be around, especially women that have gone a lot further than me or can give me some ideas or pour into me that when I face my dreams and goals, I have the tools to do it too. There's enough room for everyone to make it. So no matter if Tim, if you want to go, Chrissy, if you want to go be an author, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to rally behind you because your book is not going to be like my book. Even though we're authors, we can respect each other, but we can also support each other. So I make sure that not only am I trying to live that life, but I also cheerlead behind other women who are trying to achieve the same goals or similar goals.
I know we're sitting here. See, Barbara would be here and she would have like 10 other questions. Me and Chrissy are soaking it in like
This is great.
this this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for imparting your wisdom and also sharing with us today. I really feel like we need to have you come back on
Oh,
yeah.
anytime.
for another season of Women Wednesdays. Just to catch up with you and see how things are going, because you are definitely a natural born teacher, obviously. And so we really appreciate you coming on today and taking the time out. And we're excited you'll be in Tallahassee the next couple of days.
Yes, I hope you guys come by and stop by if you're in town. I would love to see you guys. Being in Tallahassee for 17 years and coming back to my homes. I now live in Palm Beach. I'm actually the choral director at a high school called Boynton Beach High School, the high school I graduated from.
Oh,
So coming back here and trying my best to make an imprint here in my hometown has had its challenges, but I tell you, it's so rewarding because like Hartsfield, it looks exactly like very similar in environment, and the kids are talented and they are hungry. So I am excited about working with them.
and I want to share this comment from Loren saying that you are a treasure and such a gift to our children
Thank
and
you,
our world.
Lorraine.
Absolutely. And I know, like Chrissy said, a part two is definitely necessary.
Absolutely.
I know that you've opened up a whole new world of opportunities and gigs and just projects because of just listening to that inner voice and grabbing on and doing it scared. And so we definitely want to have you back. But how can they find out? Once again, let's talk about how they can find your book online, so that we can all go out and get one and kind of push these bookstores to have it in the store as well.
Absolutely. So all you have to do is type in I belong in music in your search, and you'll have several different opportunities to find the book. If you want it, like I have Prime for Amazon Prime. Shout out to the Prime users out there. You want your book right away. Oh, there's that bell again. If you want your book right away, Amazon is the fastest way to get your book, but it's still available if you have accounts with Barnes and Noble, Walmart, any of those are still available. So you just type it in and then they will send it directly to you.
Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank
We've got to
you.
look ahead to next week, which I'm really excited about. Jackie Brown, she will be with us. Well, she's always with us because she's a volunteer for Women Wednesdays, and she handles a lot for us. So we appreciate you. And Jackie Brown will be our speaker next week, and it's titled Adding Video to Your Social Platforms. So that you're definitely going to need your notebooks to be able to jot down all the reasons why video is so compelling and essential to social media. So that's going to be pretty exciting and a lot of lessons learned, I'm sure, in that. So for next week. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. We appreciate you joining us virtually, and hopefully we'll see you all in person next Wednesday or on social media, as always. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Take
Thank you,
care.
Dr. Jackson.
You're welcome. It was my pleasure.